It is Tie Tuesday. Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. Got a fun little dry fly for you. The Gray Ugly. It's an aptly named fly. It's a great little pattern. It's gray and it's ugly, but it's very effective as well. So let's give it a try. So there's our finished Gray Ugly. Maybe not as ugly as I was saying. We'll get our hook in the vise. This is a C230BL. So size 16 today. So this is a medium wire hook, a little more stout than some of the other dry fly hooks that you might see, but that makes it great for big fish, big water, big fish. And there's a lot of hackle on this that helps to keep it nice and buoyant. It's got their needle point on there. It's a nice specialty hook from Umpqua. And then we're gonna start with our thread. I'm using some Danville's in 6/0 waxed 70 denier. Gonna start that right on the hook shank, create a nice thread base, and then we'll go into the tail. There we go, that was weird. So all the way on back, and then I'm gonna find some tailing material off of my awesome done cape here from Whiting. I'm gonna flip it on over and pull one of these larger feathers. These can be great for buggers and things like that, some streamers, but also nice tailing material found here. So what we're gonna do is just kind of take some of those right off of the stem, try to keep them somewhat aligned, those tips aligned. They are different lengths as you go forward, so not gonna be perfectly matched, but that's all right. Nothing in nature is perfectly square or linear and whatnot. So this will be a nice little fine tail. Just gonna measure out the length of that, transfer it in my hands and tie it in right on top. And I went a little long, so I'm gonna pull it back there. Maybe even just a little bit more. There we are. It's a nice fine tail out of the back. And then I'm gonna cover over this. I wanna keep a consistent thread base for all this stuff that's gonna be thrown down here in just a moment. So we're working well on up to the front. Give one wrap in front of it so that I can come in, trim it down, and then I can back that wrap off and take it over top instead. And then we're gonna go back to the rear and tie in our next material, another hackle feather. This one's gonna be our true to size feather. So we want a size 16 out of here. Just take it, measure it out. Look at that. There's a good size 16 for us. Trim off the back end. You can trim down the tie-in point as well. Something I started doing more recently is that top side of my feather. I like to trim it back just a little bit further. That makes it so that when I go to tie in that first wrap, I have a little more bare stem to work with, and you're not smashing those barbels down in a strange way. We're gonna grab this just like we usually do. We'll do that front to back, and then we'll get our back to front to keep that feather nice and 90 degrees off of the shank. And then we can use that stem by folding it in. Clip it out if you want to avoid bulk, but it can be more of a struggle sometimes than just trying to fold it forward and get a nice thread base on it. It's going to build a little bit of bulk though. And then I'm going to go, so you're splitting this fly really into thirds basically. So we have our back section is going to be hackle to about where that thread is. Then we're going to fill our midsection, and then we'll finish off with some hackle on the front as well. So we'll take this first feather, lay down those first few wraps here, and walk it forward. And I'm going to go 4 times total. On this one I do like to count them and make sure, because I'm going to try and match that on the front and keep it somewhat consistent and mirror the front to the back there. pretty similar to like a bivisible or a Renegade in how it's built overall. Get rid of some of those unruly ones. And then we're going to add in the next material, which is a ribbing. So I have some Tinsel rather, French Tinsel. I love this French Tinsel because it's got that nice modeling to it. Has a pretty good core, and this extra small is really great for dry flies. Beware, it is a metal core, so if you are cutting it with scissors, try to use your older or duller scissors or use something else. And capture that right on the side, and we're going to take it all the way back right up against where that hackle finished, and then we can throw it in the material clip, keep it out of the way, and go on into the Peacock. So the Peacock's going to be the center of our body here. I'm going to find two nice Herls and then trim those down. There's some imperfections in them, so I'll go down to where those don't exist anymore. Capture that again right on the side, just like we did with that French Tinsel, and then walk forward to where that hackle is going to be. And again, trying to keep in mind that we have 3 sections of materials to tie in here. So I'm going to leave myself plenty of room on the front, because not only do I need it to be as large as the hackle is on the back, but then I also got to finish the fly behind the eye. So we'll take our Peacock first, wrap that forward, trying to avoid trapping anything on that first wrap. Might have grabbed one there, but that's all right. And then we walk it forward to where our thread's waiting for us. And then we can capture it off. And bring that French oval tinsel forward. And again, that first wrap, you're likely to capture some hackles. So kind of getting it out of the way up in front and coming down. That'll avoid that, and then you can lay your wraps from there forward. We're only going to do 3 or 4 here. And we can capture it. This is a size 16 today, so it's not necessarily a single midge. Otherwise, you'd be tying it in a 22. It should be a midge cluster, but really an attractor bug. A nice little, pretty visible dry fly in the right conditions, the right lighting conditions. Good in a tandem rig or on its own. And we're going to come back in with that same hackle fiber feather and tie it in on the front side, the same way we did on the back. One, 2 in front, back. Trim out the stem so it's not going to exceed the length past your eye, but you can leave enough to capture and tie it down. I like doing this because I feel like it gives extra security to that feather. I know it's not coming loose on me. Walk back on it. I tied it in a little bit too far forward. There we go. And then be conscious of your transition. I have a pretty steep transition right now from kind of where that hackle feather is going to lay into where it's going to finish. And so I can sort of graduate that a little bit so that it's not as dramatic and less likely to slip forward on me. And then you can kind of be aware of where you're going to end as well, and that'll help prevent it from sliding around. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of the front there. If you've seen me tie dries in the past, I always talk about walking the thread back to where that hackle is before you go to grab it. Some of this hackle's flaring a little bit funny today. It's because of how I tied that in, but we'll make it work. Maybe. A little unruly today. Let me get this cleaned up. There we go. So yeah, walking back towards where that feather is before you sneak around it and grab it. You got quite a bit going on here on this, but that's the idea. You can come down in, clip that excess off, and then give the gray ugly a whipped finish. Great little dry fly to fish, pretty buoyant dry fly with all the hackle that's on there. Peacock, of course, is just a great material for any fly. It's a great fish attractant and makes for an awesome pattern. So
that's the gray ugly. Great little fly. Good one to have year round in your box, ready to go. Appreciate you watching today. If you want to tie one for yourself, check out the description below. That'll have all the links to the site where you can get the materials from AvidMax.com. Have a great day.